What's going on, fitness coaches? Welcome to another episode of the Change Lives and Make Money on the Trainer podcast. It's your boy, B Mark. And in today's episode, we're going to be talking about the wrong way to hire people. And then I'm going to tell you the right way to hire people. Now, before I get into today's episode, I just want to give you guys some context because before you get ahead of yourselves, I should talk to you guys about when it actually makes sense to hire people and bring people onto your coaching business. Now, I think that there's a lot of confusion in terms of like when you should hire employees and team members. So I really do want to clarify everything for you guys in this podcast episode and give you guys the right framework to know when it's time to hire people to help you grow your business and when it's time to not hire people and just focus on your shit. So before I get into this, let's talk about the basic theory of how to build a successful online coaching business. So you, as the online coach, are not just an online coach. You are also a marketer. You're also a salesperson, and you're also an online coach. And so for you personally, before you even think about hiring people, you need to have a firm understanding of how to attract clients, how to convert them into your offer, and how to deliver an amazing service. And you can judge your skills on how well you are performing at these things based on how much revenue your business is generating. If your business isn't generating less than $10,000 a month, you have a skill deficit. And that skill deficit could be in your content. That skill deficit could be in your lead gen. That skill deficit could be in your sales. It could be in your delivery. Maybe you're signing clients and they're all leaving. So again, if you're making under $10,000 a month, then hiring people shouldn't even be a fucking question on the table for you guys. That shouldn't even be a thought in your awareness. In my opinion, I don't think you should start hiring people until you're around $15,000 to $20,000 per month. Now, why do I think that that's the most important number to have before you start hiring people? Is because you have to live your life. And so if you're making $10,000 to $15,000 a month, let's be realistic, okay? In Canada, I don't know where you guys are in the world, but in Canada, making $10,000 a month is not a lot of money. You know, the average rent in Canada is $2,500. Groceries for the month are going to be about $500 to $1,000. Then you've got your cell phone bill, your gas, your gym, your electricity, your insurance, your car payment, all this stuff. When all of the bills end up stacking up, like most people's expenses in Canada are somewhere around the $8,000 to $10,000 a month range on average. And so if you're making $15,000 a month, it's not like all that money goes directly into your pocket as profit. It's more realistic that yeah, your business might make $15,000 a month, but then you have a lot of other financial responsibilities that you need to take care of. And so if you're under 10 to 15K a month and you start hiring people that you don't have the money for, then you're going to end up eating into your profit margins. And this is a business that's set up to fail, is a business that does not have the profit to sustain the employees that they hire. Does this make sense? So between $10,000 and $15,000 a month, I wouldn't even consider hiring somebody. I would recommend you start to think about hiring people around that $15,000 to $25,000 a month barrier. Now, when you hire people, first things first is don't just hire for the sake of hiring. Again, another common mistake online fitness coaches make is they're like, oh, well, I want somebody to help me with my lead gen, so I'm going to hire a VA. So they go out, they hire a VA. They like put them in their account to help them generate some booked calls. The VA shits the fucking bed because the VA has no idea how to lead gen. The coach that hired the VA also doesn't know how to lead gen properly. They don't have processes and systems. So they just plug the VA in expecting the VA to do their job. And when they don't do their job, the VA ends up burning through all their leads. And then they end up back worse than when they started because they just burned through all the leads that they had for the month. So most people, what they do is they just assume, oh, I need a VA. I need an assistant coach. I need a shadow coach, whatever. And they just hire them, but they don't have proper systems and processes for training these people. And as a result, the people that they hire end up doing a worse job than they were doing the job, and their business ends up declining. So now not only do their business decline, but also they have to pay for this employee that they just hired. So common mistakes that I see people making when hiring, number one is hiring before you're ready. Like if you're listening to this right now and you're under $15,000 a month, I wouldn't even consider hiring an employee. Common mistake number two is just hiring and expecting somebody to know how to do the job. When you hire somebody, you can't just expect that they know how to do the job, even if that's their job title. Even if somebody's like, I help you book sales calls, and they send you that in DM, if you don't have a process or a system or a strategy that you can teach them for how you want your account operated, it's likely that they're not going to do a good fucking job, okay? And the third thing, and this is actually the worst mistake that you can make when hiring people is hiring too many people at once. That is the worst mistake that you can make, is hiring too many people at once. Why? Because you will not be able to train each person to do their job properly and also still do all the things that the business requires in order to grow. So the worst mistake that you can make would be hiring more than one person at once, to be completely transparent. Unless you get to a point where you've got somebody in your business that trains the people that you hire, then I personally think hiring more than one person at once for a small business is a massive mistake. because there's no way you're going to be able to pour the amount of intention and energy that it takes to get somebody up to speed for how your company operates while also doing the day-to-day stuff for 3 or 4 or 5 people. It's just impossible. And so you end up hiring 3 or 4 or 5 people and you're trying to train them all at once. And then when none of them do a good job, you have to pay all of them and your business declines because you lose all that like potential revenue if you just focused on your own business. So how do you hire people the right way? First things first, write this down. Do not hire people if you're under $15,000 a month. That is the first thing. Just do not hire people if you're under $15,000 a month. If you're under $15,000 a month, you do not have the skill set required to hire somebody. I don't care if you like that or not. It's just like I've seen it over and over and over again. The people that end up making hires under $15,000 a month don't have the skill set necessary to train the people. And they also don't have the extra revenue required in case their business takes a decline while they're hiring. So those two things, for those reasons, I wouldn't be hiring anybody if I was under $15,000 a month. When you do go to hire your first person, this is how you hire people the right way, is you hire one person at a time. That's how you do it the right way. You hire one person at a time and you train them to do their job as good or better than you. Now, how do you know which role you should hire for if you're running your online fitness business? Like, how do you know what's going to be like first, second, third, et cetera? What you need to do is you need to look at your business and you need to identify where the biggest bottleneck is. And so if your business is at $15,000 a month, then you're responsible for generating sales calls. You're responsible for generating, getting on sales calls. You're responsible for servicing your clients. You're responsible for the day-to-day messaging. You're responsible for lead generating and booking calls. So what I would do if I were you is I'd look at the area of my business that ends up sucking up the most amount of time for me that I don't really like doing, and I would hire that person first. Now, typically speaking, there's 3 job roles that I'd recommend that you start looking into if you're over $15,000 a month. Job role number 1 would be a virtual assistant that can help you generate qualified leads and sales calls. Job number 2 would be an assistant or shadow coach. And this person would be helping you fulfill on some of the clients that you currently have. This is a good role to hire for if you find that your workload with your clients is getting extremely high and it's hard for you to keep up with the demand and you find yourself doing like days of check-ins because you've got so many clients. At this point, you might want to get an assistant or a shadow coach to help you out with that. And the third hire that you can make is a community manager. The community manager's responsibility is basically to make sure that the people that are in your program are engaging with the community, getting value from the community, and they basically keep your Facebook community active and engaged. So those would be the first, 3 hires that I would look at. Now, which one should you hire first? It all depends where your deficit is. So I'd be hiring based off of where your time is like most sucked and where you're like basically spending as much time, like too much time in. I'd be hiring to relieve some of that so that you as the business owner can focus on income generating activities. Now, when you hire people, here's a couple of things that you need to have in mind. First things first is make sure it's a culture fit. My definition of a culture fit is making sure that the person that you're hiring can service the avatar that you have. As an example, let's say you're working with moms that struggle with weight loss and you hire a jacked ass bodybuilder to be an assistant coach. That doesn't really make fucking sense, right? So we want to make sure that there's a culture fit. Second thing you guys want to have is you want to have standard operating procedures for every person that you hire. My definition of a standard operating procedure would be basically like what I call an alien abduction manual. What that means is that if you got abducted by aliens, then the person that is doing the job could do the job just based on the job description. Okay. That'd be the second thing. And the third thing is it takes about 4 weeks to actually train somebody properly. The first week is them shadowing you doing the job. The second week is you shadowing them doing the job. The third week, you're still shadowing them, but you're giving them a little less feedback. The fourth week, they're on their own, and then you're available for questions whenever they need you. That's how long it actually takes to train a person up to speed if you're doing it right. So again, I would have culture fit, standard operating procedures, and understanding that it takes about 4 weeks to hire people. Now, if you're listening to this podcast and you are interested in scaling your business to the next level, I'd recommend the $1 Million Mastermind because I've got 3 levels of coaching programs. Level number 1, the Change Lives Academy. I'll get you from $0 to $5,000 a month. Then I've got the 10K Mastermind, which will take you from $5K to $25K a month. Then when you're over $15,000 a month, at that point, you need the $1 Million Mastermind because to scale beyond $15,000 a month consistently, you need to buy back time in your calendar. You need to hire people so that they can give you time back so you can generate more income. The last thing that I want to mention in terms of hiring people, and I think this is really important, is every person that you hire should buy you back time in your calendar so that you can do more things to generate revenue for the business. That's the purpose of hiring employees. So you're not just hiring people just for the sake of hiring people to give them a job to do. You're hiring people so that you can buy back time in your calendar. And with that time that you buy back in your calendar, you can spend more time on income generating activities. Like I got a comment on one of my Instagram posts recently and I literally laughed my fucking ass off because somebody was like, there's no way that you make $1 million a month if all you do is short form content. And I'm like, you're missing the fucking point, bro. I'm like, The reason that I'm able to just make short form content is because with the revenue that I generate from my short form content, I hire people for certain roles in my business, which buys me back time in my calendar. And then I get to do more of what generates revenue for the business, which is front end marketing. So the reason that I'm able to produce so many pieces of content every single day is because I've got people that help me in my business take back some of the things that I was doing myself, so that with that extra time that I do have in my calendar, I'm able to put more time into content. I'm able to put more time into podcasts. I'm able to put more time into coaching calls. I'm able to put more value into my clients. And so your goal, I love that. Your goal is to basically buy back time in your calendar so that you can do more income generating activities. Guys, that is it. That is all. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this podcast. If you got value, make sure you leave me a 5-star rating on Apple, Spotify, iTunes, all the places. I hope you all have the best day of your entire life, and I'll talk to you guys in the next episode.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode. Hopefully you got some value. If you did, and you want to learn more about how me and my team can help you scale your online fitness business to $10,000 a month, DM me 10K on Instagram at TheRealBrianMark for more information, and I'll reach out to you to see if I can help you grow an online coaching business.